President Yoon Suk Yeol wrapped up his week-long state visit to the U.S. over the weekend. Now, how much has South Korea gained from this trip? For today's On Point, we look back at his state visit to D.C. with Professor Chung Ku-youn from Kangwon National University. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Professor Chung, overall, how do you evaluate President Yoon's state visit? I mean, what has South Korea gained and how significant could you say the trip was?
Well, I think it was pretty successful. It was not just a state visit, but it's the 70th anniversary of ROK-US alliances. So it is time to provide a new blueprint to last the next 70 years and how two countries actually cooperate over, not just over North Korea, but over a kind of global issue as well. And when you're looking back at the history of ROK-US alliances, we developed from military alliances, but gradually moved to economic cooperations, and now we are cooperating over advanced technological cooperation. So we are expanded area cooperation and deepening the scope of cooperation as well. So given that situation and considering the uncertain geopolitical landscape, I think both allies attempted to navigate this strategic environment they face and attempted to find the common grounds, especially cooperation over advanced technology like AI and battery, and even for the space security cooperation. That's a kind of milestone accomplishment for both allies to pave the way for the future cooperations. And in case of the Washington declarations, I think it is a kind of optimal outcome negotiated between two allies. And they are able to respond to changing regional geopolitical landscape, not just for North Korea's nuclear threat and missile threat as well, and provide stronger assurance for the South Korean public and strengthen the kind of role of the regime of extended deterrence between U.S. and South Korea, and maintaining the non-proliferation regime as well, which sends a stronger signal to North Korea and raise the cost of provocations as our South Korea's and North Korea policy actually stipulate.
Right, but we are staying with Washington Declaration on the security front. Now, some watchers believe the Washington Declaration is not as effective as NATO's nuclear sharing agreement. How effective do you think the Washington Declaration is compared to NATO's deal, and also in terms of, like you've mentioned just briefly, countering North Korean threats?
Well, it is not exactly the same situation between European theater and Northeastern theaters. The geographical and geopolitical characteristic between European theater and Northeast Asia is substantially different. When you're looking at European theater, tactical nuclear missiles on the ground is combined with NATO allies bomber. So that's the kind of way U.S. maintains stability on their regions vis-a-vis Russian and Soviet Union threats. But when you're looking at East Asia, U.S. strategic command has rarely communicated with their nuclear posture, nuclear strategy with South Korean and East Asian allies so far. And U.S. FK, South Korea does not have any authorization on the issue as well. So we need to begin in the first place to build a consultative structure in the first place, which is actually developed from the existing one in South Korea, and share the information to discuss the actual North Korea threats and planning at the same time. And when you're looking at the U.S. and South Korea relationship, the threat faced by two allies from North Korea is different from European theater as well, and especially the maritime characteristic of Western Pacific and Northeast Asia, where, for instance, like intermediate ballistic nuclear missiles cannot be deployed, as in the case of Europe. The suggested measures that we are kind of deploying SSBN is the optimal choice at this moment. And considering the upcoming transfer in the future, I think this consultative group is a kind of best way to secure South Korea's security in the future.
Right. The two groups definitely reflect different regional situations. Now, President Yoon's state visit itself is meaningful. That the state visit was the first of its kind in 12 years, and various deals and new commitments were secured. But Professor Chung, what do you think his trip missed or could have put more emphasis on?
Well, given the unstable economic kind of situation across the world, I think economic security issue and supply chain issue might have been considered more. Well, it's not entirely possible to reorganize the current economic security supply chain or change the United States posture at this moment. But South Korea public must have kind of provide more expectation about gaining more profit or benefit from this state visit. And this is more so, a group of South Korean business leaders actually joined the state visit together with President Yoon. So I guess private sector as well as public sector, they have anticipated much better result out of the state visit. But this is actually more trickier than we are just saying it, because U.S. is not just decoupling, but they are more like a de-risking the relationship vis-a-vis China. So it is more risky, more kind of trickier. It takes more time to consider this process, but I think South Korea could have done more about this issue.
Right. And another diplomatic event may be on the way. The three leaders of Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo are reportedly arranging a trilateral summit in Japan later this month on the sidelines of the G7. Now, if it does take place, how meaningful or significant is such a summit between the three leaders?
You can see the gradual steps of three allies, how they are consolidate their commitment to defend the Northeast Asian theaters, not just for the North Korea, but just the regional, but more about regional issue as well. In South Korea, the Phnom Penh declarations from East Asia Summit from last November has been kind of discounted and less received. But they actually make a kind of commitment about how to make us stable and prosper in the Pacific. And if three countries actually met within several weeks, they probably talk about North Korea issue, but at the same time, they will discuss more regional and global issue as well, as they discussed already from the Phnom Penh Declaration.
Right. Lots of political and diplomatic events on the way, especially in the month of May on the sidelines of G Summit. And also the leaders of Seoul and Tokyo reportedly arranging another summit here in Seoul.
That's right.
All right, Professor Chung, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.